Welcome to our deep dive into the world of brain-computer interfaces. You know, you shared this paper with me, SpikeDeeptector, a deep learning-based method for detection of neural spiking activity. And it's a fascinating one. The researchers have developed an algorithm that can automatically identify which brain signals contain actual neuronal activity, those crucial spikes, and which are just background noise. Traditionally, this process has been really labor-intensive, often requiring manual sorting. Can you imagine sifting through mountains of brain signal data?
Yeah, it's like trying to find a whisper in a hurricane. This manual sorting has been a major bottleneck for the field, especially for real-time applications, like brain-computer interfaces.
Right, and the paper mentions that microelectrode arrays can record from hundreds or even thousands of neurons at once. And each recording contains a mix of true neuronal spikes and various types of noise. We're talking electrical interference from nearby equipment, motion artifacts, even the electrical hum of the brain itself.
Exactly, and that's where SpikeDeeptector comes in. What's impressive is how it tackles this noise problem. It uses a deep learning approach, specifically a convolutional neural network, or CNN, to learn the unique characteristics of true spike signals within this noisy environment.
Hmm. So it's not just looking for a single spike shape either. The paper explains how SpikeDeeptector analyzes batches of waveforms, taking into account the temporal and spatial context. This is similar to how human experts would visually sort spikes, considering the surrounding activity to make a judgment.
Yeah, and this contextual learning seems to be key for its remarkable accuracy. They tested SpikeDeeptector on over 1.5 million hand-labeled signals and achieved a cumulative accuracy of 97.20%. In some cases, it even outperformed human experts.
Wow, that's incredible. So they trained this algorithm using data from tetraplegic patients with Utah arrays implanted in their motor cortex. For those who aren't familiar, Utah arrays are these tiny grids of electrodes that sit directly on the surface of the brain. They're often used in BCI research to record signals directly from neurons.
Right, and to ensure that SpikeDeeptector could generalize to different types of brain signals and recording setups, they tested it on data from epilepsy patients with depth electrodes implanted in different brain areas.
Interesting. I was particularly intrigued by how they tested SpikeDeeptector with different parameters like batch size and threshold settings. They even re-thresholded some of the data to simulate less than perfect initial signal detection. It seems like they really put it through the ringer to assess its robustness.
They did, and the results were consistently strong, indicating that SpikeDeeptector is not only accurate, but also reliable across a range of conditions. This is crucial for real-world applications where we can't always guarantee pristine recording conditions.
Right. Now, they compared their SpikeDeeptector CNN model to a more basic, fully connected neural network, also called SpikeDeeptector FNN. What'd they find?
The CNN model consistently outperformed the FNN, highlighting the importance of considering the spatial and temporal relationships within the data. This suggests that the way the CNN processes information, mimicking how our own visual cortex analyzes patterns, is particularly effective for spike detection.
Okay, so we've established that SpikeDeeptector is highly accurate and robust. But what does this mean for the field? Why should you care?
The implications are potentially huge, especially for brain-computer interfaces. Think about it. Right now, BCIs require extensive signal processing to filter out noise and identify those valuable spikes. This process can be slow and computationally expensive.
So SpikeDeeptector could streamline this entire process, making BCIs more efficient and responsive.
Precisely. It could significantly reduce the lag time between thought and action in BCIs, making them feel more natural and intuitive for the user.
And the paper even discusses how SpikeDeeptector can track neural activity over time, even as neurons disappear or new ones emerge. That sounds like a huge leap forward.
It is. This ability to adapt to changes in the brain's activity is crucial for long-term use of DCIs. Imagine a BCI that can adjust to the natural plasticity of the brain, constantly learning and refining its ability to interpret your neural signals.
That's pretty mind-blowing. It sounds like SpikeDeeptector could pave the way for truly seamless integration between our brains and machines.
It certainly has that potential, and while we're still in the early stages of this research, the results so far are incredibly promising.
This is where it gets really interesting. The paper mentions that the researchers even pitted SpikeDeeptector against a panel of human experts, having them manually label channels as containing spikes or not.
And incredibly, SpikeDeeptector actually outperformed the human experts in some cases. It had higher accuracy and fewer false negatives, meaning it was less likely to miss those crucial signals.
That's amazing. It's like the algorithm saying, step aside, humans, I've got this.
But even with this incredible performance, the researchers were transparent about some potential limitations. One thing that stood out to me was their acknowledgement that the training data, those millions of hand-labeled signals, were ultimately based on human judgment.
Right. And as we know, human judgment isn't always perfect. There's always the possibility of errors or inconsistencies in those labels, which could potentially impact a spike detector's performance.
So how do they plan to address this limitation? Well, they're already working on expanding their training data sets to include data from different species and cell types.
Sure.
This will not only improve spike detector's accuracy, but also make it more versatile and adaptable to a wider range of brain signals.
Like giving spike detector an even more comprehensive neuroscience education.
Exactly. And they're also exploring ways to incorporate more objective measures into the training process, potentially reducing the reliance on purely subjective human labeling.
That makes sense. So we've talked about how spike detector can accurately detect spike channels, but the paper also touches on this idea of source separation. Can you explain what that means and why it's important?
Source separation is the holy grail of spike sorting. It's not enough to just know that a channel contains spikes. We ultimately want to be able to isolate the activity of individual neurons within that channel. Think of it like listening to a choir. Spike detector can tell us if the choir is singing. But source separation would allow us to distinguish the individual voices within that choir.
Ah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So spike detector can tell us if there's a party going on,
Yeah,
but it can't yet tell us who's at the party.
precisely. And this is where the research is heading next. They see spike detector as a stepping stone towards developing a fully automated spike sorter that can not only identify spike channels, but also track individual neural sources within those channels.
That would be incredible. What kind of impact could that have on the field?
The impact would be enormous. For BCIs, it would mean being able to decode the nuanced messages of individual neurons, allowing for much finer control and more complex interactions. Imagine being able to control a robotic arm with the same dexterity and precision as your own hand, or being able to communicate not just basic thoughts, but subtle emotions and intentions.
Wow, that's a whole other level of brain-machine integration.
Yeah.
It sounds like science fiction, but with spike detector laying the groundwork, it might not be so far off.
Right, and it's not just about BCIs. This level of granularity in neural recording would revolutionize our understanding of the brain itself. We could study how individual neurons communicate with each other, how they form circuits and networks, and how these networks give rise to complex thoughts, behaviors, and experiences.
It sounds like spike detector is opening up a whole new frontier in neuroscience research.
It absolutely is. And what's exciting is that this is just the beginning. As the technology continues to evolve and improve, we can expect even more groundbreaking discoveries and applications in the years to come.
The paper mentions that spike detector is open source, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Making the code freely available allows other researchers to build upon this work, to test it in their own labs, and to contribute to its further development. This kind of open collaboration is essential for accelerating scientific progress.
So you shared this paper with us to get a better understanding of this particular algorithm. As someone who is knee-deep in BCI research, can you tell us a bit about how this will change your work?
Well, for me, SpikeDeeptector represents a major step towards realizing the full potential of BCIs. It has the potential to make our systems more efficient, more accurate, and ultimately more beneficial for the people who rely on them. I'm already exploring ways to integrate it into our current research projects, and I'm excited to see how it will shape the future of the field.
That's fantastic. It's inspiring to see how this kind of research is pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear what other insights you have to share about the potential of spike detector.
Well, one thing that particularly excites me is the potential for SpikeDeeptector to enable closed-loop BCIs. These are systems that can not only record brain activity, but also use that information to provide real-time feedback or stimulation to the brain.
I've heard about closed-loop BCIs. They're being explored for a variety of applications, like treating neurological disorders, or even enhancing cognitive abilities, right?
Exactly. And the key to developing effective closed-loop systems is being able to accurately and reliably decode neural activity in real time. SpikeDeeptector's speed and accuracy could be game changers in this area.
Can you give us an example of how this might work in practice?
Sure. Imagine a closed-loop BCI for someone with epilepsy. The system could continuously monitor their brain activity, and when it detects the specific patterns of neural firing that precede a seizure, it could deliver a precisely targeted electrical stimulation to interrupt the seizure before it even begins.
That's amazing. It's like having a built-in safety net for the brain.
Exactly. And the applications go beyond treating neurological disorders. Closed-loop BCIs could also be used to enhance learning and memory, to improve attention and focus, or even to create new forms of communication and creative expression.
Those are some pretty incredible possibilities. It sounds like SpikeDeeptector is not just a tool for understanding the brain, but also for potentially shaping its future.
I think that's a great way to put it. And as with any powerful technology, it's important that we consider the ethical implications as we move forward. We need to ensure that these tools are used responsibly and for the benefit of all.
That's a crucial point. So covered a lot of ground here, from SpikeDeeptector's impressive accuracy and robustness to its potential impact on BCIs and the future of neuroscience. As we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways you think our listeners should remember about SpikeDeeptector?
I think the most important takeaway is the sheer potential of this technology. SpikeDeeptector represents a significant leap forward in our ability to analyze and interpret brain signals. Its accuracy, robustness, and adaptability open up a whole new world of possibilities for both research and real-world applications like brain-computer interfaces.
We've discussed how SpikeDeeptector could revolutionize BCIs, making them more efficient, responsive, and intuitive for users. And you've also highlighted its potential for enabling closed-loop BCIs, which could have a profound impact on treating neurological disorders and even enhancing human capabilities.
Yes, and I think it's important to emphasize that SpikeDeeptector is not just a standalone solution. It's a foundational technology that can be integrated into a wide range of existing and future systems. It's like a powerful engine that can be used to power different types of vehicles, each designed for a specific purpose.
That's a great analogy. So as our listener continues to explore the world of brain-computer interfaces, what's one question they should keep in mind as they think about the implications of SpikeDeeptector?
I think the most important question is, how can we ensure that this technology is used responsibly and ethically? As we develop increasingly powerful tools to interact with the brain, we need to be mindful of the potential risks as well as the benefits.
That's a crucial point, and it's a reminder that scientific progress should always go hand in hand with thoughtful consideration of its broader impact on society.
Absolutely. We need to engage in open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of these technologies, involving not just scientists and engineers, but also ethicists, policymakers, and the public at large.
It's fascinating to think about how SpikeDeeptector could shape the future of our relationship with technology and with our own brains. It seems like we're on the verge of a new era of brain-machine integration, one where the lines between our minds and machines become increasingly blurred.
Indeed, and as we venture into this uncharted territory, it's essential that we proceed with both curiosity and caution, guided by a deep understanding of the brain and a commitment to using these powerful tools for the betterment of humanity.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive. We've explored the intricacies of SpikeDeeptector, its potential to revolutionize brain-computer interfaces, and the exciting possibilities it holds for the future of neuroscience.
It's been a pleasure diving into this research with you.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has provided you with valuable insights and sparked your curiosity about the incredible world of brain-computer interfaces. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of the brain.